Here we are. We are live, and I have Mr. Ted Ings on with me. But before we get into Ted Ings so much, there's so much to get into, too. I tell you. For those that, well, maybe not know who I am, they all know who Ted Ings is, right? I would think by now, anyway, with all the fixed ops roundtable events that you do. But I've been providing finance and insurance training for over 20 years. Started my consulting company 20 years ago, Chernek Consulting, and provide what I think is the very best, superior F&I training throughout the USA and Canada. I've worked with some of the best in the industry, providing workshops and dealership training, as well as my F&I roundtable events and then also online courses, F&I online courses. And recently I've just released my podcast I'm so proud of. And so here we are. And well, that's it. So on Apple. And so I hope you guys all check it out. If you like it, please like it. And then also share it and write a review if you have time to do that. But so exciting news. I've got Ted Ings on live talk with Becky Chernek. And it is absolutely terrific to bring you on with me. And, Ted has he's got an incredible 30 years or more, 3 decades, 4, I don't know, in automotive retail industry. And I would like to say that I think Ted's a legend in the industry, and that's one of the reasons why I like to call him Batman. Yeah, and I don't want to take away his thunder. And he had really exciting news. He's on the cover of Fixed Ops. What a great achievement, Mr. Ted Ings. Congratulations! It is so well deserved. You are the leader in the industry. I mean, you have a dealer voice, and I believe you have a true pulse in the industry, what's going on. And I've been very blessed to know you for many, many years. And thank you again for being on tonight with me. I appreciate it.
Hey, Becky, I think it goes both ways. I want to thank you, and I'm very honored to be on your show. And hey, Becky, it's about time. I've been asking you and telling you for years, you got to get online and get up live.
Oh, stop it.
It's really the other way around, everybody. Becky Chernek was the one telling me to do that for a long time, and I'm sure you remember that.
Well, Ted, I certainly did. And it has, I made all the mistakes for you. I did all the things that you probably thought, well, I'm not going to do that one. That's one thing I'm not going to do. I'm not wearing a hat or a helmet.
I love it.
So I was daring. I went out there and did whatever I could do to get my name out there, and right, wrong, or indifferent. And of course, I did have a great time as the host of the F&I Today show with CVT Automotive Network, and you came on there with me as well, and we had a couple episodes there, so that was terrific as well. So, yeah.
And thank you for inviting me down to Norcross, Georgia. I brought my daughter. Her name is Jean, and we had a great time on your show. And don't sell yourself short, Becky, because you are the guru of F&I. Everybody, if you don't know already, Becky Chernek has an amazing background in retail F&I, in bringing F&I first out to the showroom floor and being able to get the consumer involved early in the process. And she did this with AutoNation stores, did this with JM&A, and then she began taking it online, okay? So she was talking and doing things before we ever even thought about doing this stuff. And now, Becky, it's all come full circle. So, the industry owes you a great, I feel, thanks for all that you're doing for the industry.
Well, you talk about the time that when here I am back in 1997, and I'm dating myself here, guys. 1997. And you know, it was the complete opposite of anything that I was ever trained to do. You know, we took customers into the box, and it would take an hour long session to go ahead and close that customer down, trying to sell them on a service contract. But here we are meeting customers at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom, and we are engaging customers and meeting customers on their terms. And we helped to revolutionize, I believe that, of how things are going to get done in the car business. And you know, we always have the naysayers. You can't do this. You can't be successful and still be upfront and profitable. And you know, and we proved them wrong. We went from the mega store days stores to the franchise stores, and the same thing. Oh, you can do it in used car stores, but you're not going to do it over here in the franchise stores, Becky. So we certainly we proved them wrong, frankly, and took the nation by storm. I was really proud of those accomplishments back in the day, and it certainly made me who I was. And I took the same strategies and practices, and I started my own company on that, and went throughout the USA, as I said earlier, and really helped dealers and finance people. And there's plenty of F&I people. Fred Gitter, if you're on here, we really help to make a difference in their lives. Of course, kicking and screaming all the way.
And I got to tell you that a good friend of yours, and as a result of that, a friend of mine, his name is Adam Aarons, the owner of the Patriot Automotive Group in New England, really, you know, talked about moments of truth. Every customer and whether it's an F&I advisor, whether it's a salesperson, or whether it's over in the service department, the service advisor is confronted with moments of truth every single day with their consumer. And you have really, and a lot of times those moments of truth, you know, may not be that great, right? And Michelle McLean, we love you as well. Okay, thank you so much. And again, by the way, Adam Aarons, Michelle McLean, all people introduced to me by guess who? Rebecca Chernek, right here. She is the instigator of all this stuff. So these moments of truth, you have helped to improve them and bring them into the new century, into the new way of doing business, the new era. Okay, this new season with transparency and getting the customer involved early in the F&I process. That's all Becky Chernek, everybody. She's the one who has really been the force behind making all these things happen. So, you know, all these great people really owe a lot to you as well.
Yeah, well, I took you kicking and screaming too, right? Getting you out there
Absolutely,
on video.
yes.
Come on, Ted, we got to do this. Let's go. But you know, I was very blessed in my career, I guess you could say. I know. I worked with Adam Aarons, and oh my gosh, I love the man. Do you know, he is my mentor. He really is. I mean, he tries to keep me straight.
And Becky, another one that you brought to the table as well is Joe St. John. I never knew Joe. I never met him until I went to Atlanta to that event that you had, which was attended by Adam Aarons, Christine Farnan. Christine, shout out to you. Great friend of ours as well. I met her through you as well. Adam Aarons, amazing person. Also, Joe St. John, you know, I saw him speak at your event. I said, wow, this person has a lot of charisma. And, you know, maybe, just maybe, he might be able to speak at a fixed ops event. And, you know, look what's happened, how his whole career has exploded, you know, in a great way.
Well, so true. Joe St. John, I'll tell you what I really like about Joe St. John, since we're here on this topic. He's real world. He still has ties into the dealership environment. He's in the trenches. He understands the mindset of car people, and yet he can talk through the technology. So the two just go hand in hand with him. And I always really appreciated that, because he's an excellent speaker, and he just gets into what he believes and does. And he always kicks off my workshops because and he just knows his stuff.
And another one, Becky, another one that you brought is John Fairchild. I would never have met John Fairchild if it was not for you. So thank you as well, because John Fairchild is now an NADA speaker. Imagine that. This March, he's going to be speaking at the NADA show. Wow.
And he deserves it. He's a hardworking kind of guy. I mean, he is a no nonsense person, but it's just a really loving, good people. I love John Fairchild, and I hope to see him soon. So I'm going to be getting into, hope to be in Atlanta soon, and I'll see John. And yeah, so I think that's just terrific. So so many, we talk changes in the industry and really trying to help others really kind of see kind of the pathway a little bit about what's going on, so that way we can get a little bit better prepared. And you and I were talking about this, and I've thought, especially with your Fixed Ops Roundtable, I'm sure you're hearing it from the dealers in your Fixed Ops Roundtable, what is going on with a lot of different things, as well as
Michelle McLean. Look at that. Michelle, thank you so much for the plug for the next March Magic Fixed Ops Roundtable, fixedopsroundtable.com. I actually saw a graphic that Becky had done for the Atlanta workshop just about 2.5 years ago, right, Becky? And I said, wow, that is amazing. I could never do anything like that. I said to Becky, who did that work for you? Remember that? And you said,
oh, I said Michelle. Next thing I know, no, it's good stuff. I mean, Michelle is great. She is phenomenal. I know she's a very busy lady nowadays, but if you can get her, she does terrific work. I'm trying to get her to do a little bug for me for my little logo. Hello, while you're at it. Just thought
but all these people we're talking about, Adam Aarons, John Fairchild, Joe St. John, Michelle McLean, these are all the best in the industry. And again, the connections that we've all made together a lot of them have resulted in great things. And Becky, you've really, set all this up. So you put all these things in motion. So all
There's
these
Fred Gitter. I didn't mean to apologize. Fred Gitter showed up. Hey, Fred. 20 years. I've known Fred 20 years, Ted. My apologies. But I've known Fred for over 20 years. He went to one of my first workshops years back. Go figure.
Wow.
He's using all the technology. He does online. They do online in his dealership. They do digital menu. They do it all there. It's pretty impressive. And I remember having to change Fred's mindset when it comes to packing payments. No, I don't know. Step selling to menu selling. He thought it was that. He thought, oh my gosh, this gal has lost her mind.
And you were so ahead of the curve with everything. So we're going to talk about some things that are ahead of the curve today, are we not?
Yes. And this is where I was going, with your relationship, and I mean, so successful with your Fixed Ops Roundtable. You certainly have done a terrific job with that, and meeting probably so many industry leaders. I'm sure that there is talk with regard to electric vehicles. What the heck is going on with that whole thing? And, I know enough to keep me a little dangerous. So I thought, what the heck? I'm going to invite Ted Ings on and see if we can't figure this thing out, what's going on. And I think what we want to talk about today is what's happening with the electric vehicle. What are dealers preparing for today? Yes?
And you know what? With the 14 Fixed Ops Roundtable events, of which I think 9 of them have been virtual so far, with a big one coming up in March, as you just heard from Michelle McLean, we did not devote hardly any time, Becky, to electric vehicles, to EVs. So a little bit on the state of that industry right now. They account for about 3.6% of all passenger vehicles sold here in North America. And it's just a little over 5% of the SUVs. And the market is really controlled by one company on the electric side. Guess who it is? Tesla, with 79.5% of the electric vehicles are sold by Tesla. It's all about the change, okay? Now, it's not going to change, in January or in June, but it's going to happen over a period of time. And we need to start preparing for it today because it's coming. And the investment is being made right now, Becky, by the OEMs. If you take a look at General Motors, okay, with their new electric vehicles that are coming out, Ford with their electric Mustang, okay, that's out. They are requiring that when it comes in for service, that you return it to the customer. Let's say you go in for an oil change, right, Becky?
Mm-hmm.
When you return the vehicle to the customer, it has to have an 80% charge on that battery or greater. Okay, you can't bring it back to the customer, with a very low,
Like at 30%.
I mean, think about that for just a second, okay? So that's going to require not just a charger, but a rapid charger on the dealership side, okay? So these rapid chargers are not cheap. Right now, as of this morning, I got the price from a number of dealers that I called. If you can find them, okay, the rapid charger right now is going for, as of this morning, rapid chargers are, here comes the number, $8,695 per charger, $86.95. And availability, Becky, is becoming harder by the day because it's another one of those things that it's very difficult to get right now, okay? Think about it for a moment. Let's say your shop has 20 service bays or 25 service bays. The time is now to begin building the infrastructure for that EV. Each bay, or just about every bay, is going to require one of these rapid chargers. Gentleman I spoke to this morning has a General Motors store. He just spent north of $556,000 total for the conversion to these rapid chargers. Think about it. If you have a dealership, Sean Kingery, as an example, over at Step One Automotive Group, shout out to Sean, okay, in Florida and in Georgia.
Yeah.
By the way, a good friend of John Fairchild. They just spent over $1 million, okay, on these rapid chargers. So what really kind of set the ball in motion for them is they have a Kia franchise, and they were one of the first ones to apply to Kia to get these rapid chargers. When they applied to Kia, they were number 1,300 on the list, okay? That's when the light bulb went off for Step One, and they said, you know what? We have to start preparing right now for this infrastructure. So you need to start getting that in place because this is coming. And by 2030, they say that EVs are going to account for 36% of the passenger vehicle market here in North America, 36%.
Well, that's certainly shaking things up over there, isn't it? And if that doesn't get your attention, hello, I don't know what would. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. I also, do a lot in F&I. And so, so here's what I'm reading. So here's what I'm taking in. Some of the products will have to be changed up a bit as it pertains to service contracts and, what's going to be covered and what's not necessary to be covered. Right. And so that whole thing may change up. And, so what other additional products and services are we going to be providing to that type customer who obviously is purchasing the electric vehicle? But the other thing that I picked up, okay, that maybe dealers may be doing more subscription services with the electric vehicle only because price is going to be a huge issue, right, on the front end. And cutting back on the profit margins on the front end. So where more dealers are going to rely on F&I to make up that difference, right? But even though the price is higher and perhaps maybe we're making more on the reserve, we still have a product difference. The other is if we get into more subscription services, doesn't that, what are we doing with that? Is that cutting back on what we're generating or what our profits are in F&I, Ted? What are your thoughts there?
Let me throw one more stat at you, Becky, first, real quick.
Okay.
I don't know if this new infrastructure bill is going to pass the Congress. It may or may not. We don't know, right? But
Yeah.
if it does, baked into that bill is $7.5 billion for new charging stations throughout the United States. 7.5 billion, and it's not nearly enough. But the government is now going to be making an investment of some sort into these charging stations so vehicles can go further. And Tom Dahl, the president and CEO of Subaru, recently said at a Fixed Ops Roundtable event, he said that one of the things dealerships need to invest in as well is because a technician cannot reach inside under the hood and just take that battery and pull it out with his or her hands. They need a special hoist to be able to do that as well. So think about that. You don't have a combustion engine, but what you have is a big battery, okay? And to be able to, replace it or be able to work on that vehicle, you have to take that battery out, okay? So there's another infrastructure there. I think F&I is going to become even more important, Becky, than it is today. And we have to start preparing for that. I know we're dealing with things right now, like a shortage of new vehicles.
Yeah.
And, that's been going on now for a little while. And at some point, the pipeline's going to open up again, okay? But it's obviously affected used vehicle sales as well, and used car values have gone up through the roof. But we're going to have to take a look at, what's covered on vehicle service agreements. And, let's face it, the car still has tires. So will tire and wheel still be important? Absolutely. Will appearance protection still be important? Yes, it will. The car still needs, or the vehicle still needs alignments, right? So there's a lot of things that are not going to change, okay? And we're going to have to gravitate over that. But we're still going to have, Becky, gas combustion engines are still going to be, the predominant sale, over the next many, many years, okay? It's not going to happen overnight.
So here's some. I'm going to read a few of these comments. In one in particular, I don't know who you're from. So if you want to type in, "Hey, this is me. This is who I am," I don't know, but why they're questioning why the lower front end for the electric vehicle deals. And the reason for that is obviously the price tag is going to be huge. It's going to be 5 to 10 grand more, but not so much that. So much is that these customers are more inclined to be doing a lot of shopping online. It's going to be, from my understanding, it's going to get very aggressive as far as the ability to have. They can literally shop online now. Whether or not they go from, like Tesla wants to do direct. I believe that there are 15 states that you can't do that in. But so it's going to be an interesting model from what I understand, which is going to make it a lot more competitive and aggressive on the front end pricing. And it's going to be subsidized, I imagine, by the manufacturer.
And there was a study done for the OEMs by McKinsey that looked at the margins and said that the margins will be smaller. Now, step back for a moment. If you had told us a year ago or 2 years ago that we'd be selling new cars, new passenger vehicles at sticker price and above 2 years ago, we would say you're crazy, all right? So we really can't see the future. We really don't know what other elements are going to come in that are going to affect this. So, the market will really determine how this whole thing goes. And we're not there yet.
It could be, let me ask you this then. Do you think maybe it could be like one pricing? Are we into the one pricing?
It's possible. It depends, I think, on the dealer, the dealership, the OEM, the manufacturer. I think I saw yesterday Lexus just announced that Lexus is going to be an all-electric passenger vehicle. All Lexus will be electric. So how about that?
Well, look what Michelle McLean had to say. Just go ahead.
Michelle McLean says, I think we are going to see a huge influx of direct selling. Yeah, we've been looking at the Rivian model for a year now, and direct is currently the only way to get one. So what's happened, Michelle, and Brian Benstock, your friend, talks about this, is that Rivian and Tesla have used electrification to bypass the dealer franchise model successfully. All right. So there are, no showrooms where you can actually sit down and buy the vehicle. That all has to be done online. You can go look at the vehicle, but you make the purchase online is what you do. So yes, I think consumers, especially with the pandemic, are more comfortable in making that transaction online. Look at Carvana, Becky. Look at all the pushback we've heard over the years about, that's not going to work, buy a car online. Who's going to want to do that? Over the weekend, I watched my neighbor across the street. I watched the flatbed pull up with the name Carvana on the side, and the whole family came out as they took delivery. So they made the purchase online as well.
So I have to say something here. Fred Getter, I love him because he just speaks his mind. That's how he is. I think he's from your neck of the woods, New York. Is that right, Fred? He's saying that direct sales, it really wasn't direct sales, it was one pricing, Saturn. And Saturn didn't work out. So, Fred, I got to tell you something about that one. Now, I ran a Saturn store, and I was, to tell you, I was busy. We couldn't get a hold of enough cars. We had people waiting. And yeah, I thought you were from New York. And I got to tell you.
Fred from New York. Love it.
Yeah, you and your New Jersey. But anyway, so I love New York, love New Jersey. I just don't like your airport. How's that? See, I believe that Saturn was successful because customers, regardless, because they bought Saturn and they paid full retail, and they did it for many, many years.
Many years.
Now, I can't say that the manufacturer itself and what was going on behind the scenes, that I can't speak to. But what I can say, as far as the concept, certainly was it made Saturn who it was. So, yeah, two ways to think about it.
And the fact that we're still talking about it today, okay? So, Saturn was ahead of its time by many years, and many dealer groups, Becky, have adopted that model of one price. I'm not saying we're going to go one price on everything, but look at the Shop Automotive Group over in Denver, Colorado, which is in several states now. They have buy the vehicle from one person. One person handles it from front to back, including the F&I, at one price, and you buy the vehicle in 1 hour. Okay, and Shop has got that down. So, look, there's a lot of pain points for consumers. People don't want to wait in the showroom for 4 and 5 hours to buy that car. You and I have talked about that bottleneck, Becky. They don't want to do that. They also don't want to come into a dealership for service. They don't want to sit in the waiting room, okay? They don't want to do that stuff. That's why we've had now pickup and delivery has become successful. So there's a lot of disruption that will continue to happen. We are ripe for disruption, and I think we're foolish to think that we're going to be able to continue it exactly the way it is. However, I will say this. We adopt in the car business, and we are car dealers are very, very, very keen at being able to make things work and figure out the way to do it. So the market forces are going to allow the dealerships to be able to do that. And I think that's an exciting time that we have together in the next couple years, even the next 5-10 years.
Well, here's my thing. I don't think that we have to reinvent the wheel here. I think there's a lot of good things that are working. I do believe that we need to make some changes, and it doesn't have to certainly be an overhaul, but we have to understand that by having customers wait forever long to get into an F&I office is certainly non-productive, and it cuts into profits, and that's certainly not a good thing. And also, after customers waited for, I don't know, many hours to get into the F&I office, they're not going to enjoy the overall buying experience either. So what do we get out of that?
Yeah.
why not start the process as early as you possibly can online and cut through all the red tape and just make the whole buying time a whole heck of a lot shorter.
Look at this quote up here on the screen. It says, that happens every day. I've been doing it for years. Just shipped a truck from Montana to Georgia in 3 days. Perfect deal. Hey, look at all the transactions that are happening now, Becky. You know, from state to state, transporting vehicles. Remember Kimberly Staggs from 50 State DMV who spoke at your event? Another great one whose time has come, okay? We're constantly transporting vehicles. I'm buying a vehicle from Adam Aaron's, you know, up in New England, transporting it to my state. So we think nothing of it now. So there's a lot of stuff happening electronically that we wouldn't have even imagined 5 years ago. And now it's commonplace today.
Well, right. That's exactly right. So I remember again, and if I can just go back to the time we met customers at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom, and everybody and their mother told me I was completely out of my mind. What am I thinking? Along with the time when I was doing the working with Saturn, what am I thinking? And you know, we certainly proved them wrong, and we showed that you could do that, and we could be profitable. But then we also proved in these other nation mega stores that we can be customers outside at a kiosk, and you don't have to drag kicking screaming customers into an F&I office for these marathon deliveries. And we proved that you don't have to do that. And people were like, there's no way that that can be. And look at us today. Look at where we are today. So it's like, okay, now we've gotten here. Let's take it a step further. Wherever the customer is most comfortable, we want to meet with them, right? We want to engage with them.
And look what's happened with the pandemic, you know, on the service side, going back to fixed operations. You know, the customer was most comfortable where? In their home, in their living room. So Brian Benstock talked to us months before the pandemic about this new thing called service pickup and delivery that he'd been doing in Paragon Honda, in Queens, New York, Paragon Acura. He had done tens of thousands of those pickup and deliveries and perfected the process. And when the pandemic hit, boom, he was ready. Okay. And now so many dealerships have adopted that model because they realize that the consumer, you know, will be fine with us picking up the car and delivering it back to their house.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you right now that that event that you had in New Jersey was awesome. New York was good too. All right, see, I like it, Fred. All right, but and then New Jersey, I just don't like the airport. And here we are. Here we are in New York. I mean, that was your first fixed stops. I mean, we sure did have. It was a great meeting. It really was. In New Jersey, that was also a great meeting. And Brian, I mean, Benstock, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing.
Phenomenal.
Amazing.
He did a phenomenal. And I told him that. I don't know if he's listening in one day. Maybe he might, but he did a great job. You did a great job. It was a great event, period. It was just a great event.
That event in New Jersey really set the pace for what was about to happen, and it really turned the industry on its head because we had Fred Beans, you know, from the Fred Beans Automotive Group. Somebody said to me, well, who's going to speak from Fred Beans? I said, Fred. He's 81 years old and he's coming up and he's going to speak. And Brian Benstock said, can I bring all my managers to listen to Fred? Because I want them to learn from the best. And so Brian Benstock spoke after Fred Beans. And, you know, Brian really, you know, dealers were very, very open to, you know, what change would look like in the service side. And he really showed us the way. And again, he continues to make those innovations, you know, with appointments, using things like Google to set the appointment, no phone calls. They've reduced the number of calls to the dealership. Look at all things that are happening. So, you know, dealers can adopt and can adapt as well. So
here's the thing that I'm going to ask you. In this report, it also mentioned the problem. Some of this is that are dealers doing a good job or a good enough job training up their staff to be able to talk intelligently about electric vehicles? What are we doing there?
I think it's going to be up to the
In-service.
OEM to help lead that, because some OEMs, obviously, I just mentioned Lexus, are huge, okay, in terms of what they're going to be doing in electric. You know, Volvo is doing the same thing. So I think that's by a by dealer basis. Some dealers are not prepared yet. They don't have the infrastructure with their people built yet. Again, 3.6% of the market today. So you may not say that's a big thing. I'm busy selling combustion vehicles over a sticker, Becky. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in line.
Yeah,
So
that's true. I'm busy doing that. I don't really need to go ahead and change up too much. I'm kind of liking where things are right now. Let's just leave well enough alone. And I can understand the mindset. We're doing really, really well, but there's many a times we've done really, really well, and then things catch up. Everything always has a tendency to catch up. What comes up, must come down. And that's even in my career. So
Dave Anderson, who many of you know is a great speaker, has a company called Learn to Lead, said that all of us as leaders and managers, Becky, we all have a grace period. In other words, we can see the future coming. Maybe we see it at a great distance, or maybe it's getting a little bit closer. And maybe we don't have to make the change tonight, okay? We've got a grace period. Tomorrow's the grace period. Christmas is coming up, New Year's. I got a grace period to the end of the year. Maybe January is a grace period. But at some point, that time expires and we run out of the grace period, okay? And we're going to be into what's coming. So the grace period, everybody, is limited and it's going to diminish. So we got to get on board now for the future and be aware of trends. So I would suggest to all of you, follow this lady, follow Becky Chernek, because she is going to bring you the latest. She talked about her podcast today. Her podcast is already out. And you know what? She's going to have some amazing events, amazing speakers here. I hope, Becky, to be invited back as well, sometime in the near future. I'd love to do that and, take this amazing ride into the future with you.
Well, I got to tell you, Ted, I appreciate your support, and you've always been there for me, and I'm very thankful for that. We have some very good conversations about what's going on in the industry, and I'm also very thankful that I did get an invite to also speak on your next upcoming in March. So I'm very, very pleased about that, and I think I've got something that's going to knock the socks off of these dealers.
Becky's got an amazing panel coming up at the March Fixed Ops Roundtable, which will be March 9th, 10th, and 11th. There's a registration site. You can go to fixedopsroundtable.com, get your complimentary seat. There's no charge for that seat, and you can secure that. And Becky will be speaking at that event, so you don't want to miss that. And she's already lining up some great speakers, so I'm privy to that information. So I look forward to that, Becky.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, and appreciate you. And again, it's always a pleasure to be on live and having these conversations with you, to be a part of that Fixed Ops Roundtable with you. And as we continue to do this thing in the industry and going forward in 2022 and breaking records and making things happen, it's certainly a pleasure. And Michelle McLean, thank you again for being on. Fred Getter, thank you again for being here with me. That's what it's all about. And for those that I don't know who's posting, thank you for posting and and getting getting interactive with us. And if there's, of course, any questions or that you may have with regard to my podcast, my F&I online courses, remote training, in dealership training, feel free to reach out to me. Easy enough. You can catch me on Facebook. I'm in the F&I Today group, obviously, with Becky Chernek, and I'm all over the place. So if you can't catch me, something's wrong, and I need to know about it.
Hey, Becky.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
And oh, by the way, thank you, Ted Ings, for my Christmas gift. I told on you. Yeah, Batman got me a very nice gift. Thank you so much. And Merry Christmas to you as well. And to all.
Thanks, everybody.